This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
Hello, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. It's Friday night, and welcome to the award-winning, you heard, Long Run live stream and podcast brought to you by the 40 Runs running community and our sponsor Skechers. Check out their great deals at skechers.co.uk. I'm Ian Wilson, and tonight I'm joined by Sabrina Ahmed, Toby Frost, Alan Coley. We are going to be talking about recovering from marathons. Not quite had the opportunity to run mine yet. I've got another 48 hours. But we're going to be digging into that. But it's been a massive week for us. Chris, unfortunately, cannot be with us, but we wanted to give you a dose to the old boy. So he's done a little video for us just to have a quick chat. So, Toby, if you could press the play button, that'd be lovely.
Guys, I'm sorry I can't be there, but I did want to do a quick message to say thank you to every single person who voted for us in these Sports Podcast Awards. The fact that we won is crazy. We're against a massive podcast. I mean, massive podcast. So thanks to everybody who's watched, listened, downloaded, shared, and been part of the journey. Thanks to the hosts. Thanks to Skechers for supporting the podcast and live stream as well. It's incredible. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. So that was the amazing news yesterday. We were... Chris put us in for an award for the Sports Podcast Awards that cover all sorts of different sporting topics. So I think they're based in America because like the entry fee was in dollars and stuff like that. Yeah. There's some massive, big organisations like the Athletic and the Guardian and big media people. And we were in the best performance, wellbeing and fitness category. And by hook or by crook, mainly, I think, because so many of you lovely listeners got on the website and gave us your support, that we come out on top and mind-blowingly ahead of, in the section, Jake Humphrey's High Performance podcast, which gets loads and loads of viewers and massive big-name guests. Although we did have Colin Jackson on last week, so we are getting into that sort of stratosphere, but it was absolutely brilliant. We cannot thank you enough for the amount of support that you give us, the 8 people who do this show regularly, who sit at their dining room table or in their spare bedroom and just talk about running for 60 minutes on a Friday night. And we get so much support, and it's taken off beyond our wildest dreams. And I just wanted to say on behalf of the whole team, thank you so much for all your support over the last 2 years. Al, it was your idea, mate. You can't. It must be hard to believe that it's gone so mad.
Can you remember when we used to get excited when we had 8 people in Clubhouse waiting to talk to us? I was just reflecting. I think it is literally 2 years when we started on Clubhouse, and then about another 3 or 4 months before we went kind of to the podcast format. And yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to look through some of the other winners, but it's amazing when you think, the BBC was up there kind of winning awards, and kind of we're there as well. So it is quite mind-blowing, really, to think there's enough people out there listening to our and nonsense every Friday. So
nonsense.
Good work. Let's keep up the good work.
We'll keep up what we do normally, isn't it? Just chat.
Yeah, now we've got the burden of expectation now, though. We just used to blag it and everybody thought it was all right. And now, though, we've got reputation to uphold. So, I mean, it's not just the fact that, we've been doing something, but what I've really enjoyed is the fact that, we've brought a lot of people have said, oh, it's been great that you've helped, get me through my long runs and things like that during my marathon training. And also people, through difficult times as well. Sabrina, we had a couple of emails, didn't we, this week?
Yeah, we have. And just before I do those, actually, I'm going to read them a couple. Please, if you are commenting, you're using Facebook, please click on the link that I think was Toby put in. Toby, can you?
I'm getting there.
Right. Toby's going to put a link in now. Can you click on that just so that we can see your name as you comment, or just put your name at the beginning of the end, because there's loads coming through, which is amazing. But we just want to know who we're talking to. So yes, actually, we've had loads of emails, which is amazing, but just a couple that I wanted to reference. So James Henderson, actually, who I can see has just commented saying hi everyone. I'm hoping it's the same James Anderson now, but has sent us a note just to say congratulations on the award, really well deserved, so thank you. And he met you, Al, actually, at Victoria Dock Park Run.
Yeah, it was probably, what was that, 3-4 weeks ago? So It was absolutely tipping it down with rain, and we was all kind of huddling under about 6 inches of roof. And then James come up and said hello, and I think he kind of shared the story with me that you're going to reference. So it was nice to put a face to a name and just have a little chat about what he's got out of the community and how we're helping people like James. So yeah.
So look, I won't go into all details. It's quite personal, but he had some really tough news at the beginning of the year, and was going through quite a difficult time. And he said that he was sat at home one evening and got a reminder that the long run was about to start, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to watch it, understandably, with everything else that was going on, and where his headspace was at. But he said he made the decision to turn it on, and for 1 hour, it just took him away from things, and he laughed and he got involved, and it was just something that he really needed. So thank you, and thank you, James, for getting involved and listening, but also we wish you all the best, and we wish you well, and we hope things are getting better for you over time. And then the other one was from Tim, who sent us a note saying, hi guys, just wanted to drop you a message to say thank you for the great podcast. He said he's been listening for the last 4 months whilst training for London, which is next week, which is mad, isn't it? And he said that it's been absolutely immense. He said great running partners to have in his ears on those long runs, and he's ordered his top, which he's going to wear with pride on the day. So that is great. And you will have a huge cheer. There's 40s all over the place from what I know. I've seen people saying they're at mile 13 on marathon day, they're at mile 22, and there'll be a big cheer squad at 18, I think, between 18 and 19 in Canary Wharf, which, if it's anything like the water stations when they are at events, you can hear them from about a mile away. So you will know that you're heading in the right direction and that you'll get a lot of love in that area. So
I'm going to be at mile 18 in the FORDY meetup, so I'll be making plenty of noise there. And with reference to London as well, and the fact that we've got some messages last year, and we're going to repeat it this year, that if you've got anybody, if you or your friends are running in London and you'd like a shout out on next week's show, the week which will be 2 days before the big day, please this week send your message to FORDYRUNS.com/longrun, and we will get to read some of those out next week. So yeah, it's been it's been none of us have been on for 2 weeks, Sabrina, because you had your chat with Colin.
Yeah, it was good. So went a couple of weeks ago to meet Colin. So
it's Colin Jackson, sorry.
Colin Jackson, yeah, Olympic athlete. It was a hurdler. We were lucky enough to go down to the Red Bull studios, and we had a chat with him about Wings for Life, which is happening on the 7th of May, which is a charity event, actually, which he's been involved in for years. And actually, what's brilliant is it's all about a community as well, which is so well aligned to what we stand for and what we do about it being so inclusive and just giving everyone something fun to do, really. So the event starts at the same time across the globe. So it happens everywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where you are. And it will be 12 o'clock lunchtime UK time that it starts. And basically, you get 30 minutes and you start running. And then they set off a chaser car, basically, that basically chases you down. So you just keep running, and you keep running, and the car will chase you down. And when the car chases you down, you're out, basically. But you kind of get a ranking in terms of everyone in the world, and it's just a bit of fun. So it doesn't matter how far you go, how long you go for. It's just all for a bit of fun, and you can do it on your own by downloading the app, or you can do it go to one of the events. They're happening all over the place. There's one in Cambridge, actually, which we're going to head down to. There's one in London, and yeah. So
just to be clear, it's a virtual car. You're not literally going to be down the M25.
No,
going down by some irate non-runner.
No, but you say that if you're anywhere near Chris, he might decide to take a car with him and go, I'll get involved in this. So yeah.
Sabrina, you're trying to sign us up for this, and my one reservation is that I might find myself at the furthest part of the course and then face a sort of like a 5-mile walk to get back to base if I get caught at an inopportune moment.
I think it's a loop. So I think if you go to one of the events, you do like a loop. So you're actually never that far, and you just keep going until the chaser car gets you. So
Yeah,
and
you
you
still
then you
finish your run. I mean,
Yeah.
the car gets you, and you'll get your ranking, but
Oh yeah, you
they
can just keep
mobilise
running
you.
back to the
Oh,
beginning.
they don't sort of usher you off to the side of the road
No.
to say thanks so much, folks.
It's not like the dreaded
No.
sweeper car then.
It's all
No.
virtual in your headphones, effectively. So you need your phone, your headphones, because it's sort of everyone to themselves. There's a little app.
It sounds so complicated that I'm intrigued, and I'm probably going to have to sign up.
Yeah,
I would.
I would. We're going. It's going to be good fun.
I have.
Yeah.
Excellent.
To
And
be
I mean,
fair, it's
apart,
the first time in life that Toby's ever signed up for anything himself and then said, "I'm doing this." So I thought I better do this as well now.
really? But you're
Yes.
usually the bloke who gets dragged along, aren't you? Kicking and screaming.
Nah, they mentioned car in some kind of competition, so I was like, off I go. And it's Cambridge as well. Who doesn't like going Cambridge?
And this is true. Lovely. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful route. Bit dual carriageway, the odd hill.
No comment.
I mean,
Moving
just to
on.
touch upon a couple of other little, well, not little events that have happened in a way. We're split down the middle here. What we did a couple of weeks ago. Sabrina, you had your favourite race of the year at the Landmarks. Smashed it again.
Yeah, we had a great run. Landmarks, I know I will say this. I think it's a great course. I think it's a great race. I think it's just fun. I think the support out there is brilliant. The atmosphere is great. It's a 40 water station, and they were going mental as always. And yeah, it was good. It was a great day. I think Chris, can I actually say something? Chris never talks about this. He got a PB that day. He ran incredibly. And he's so quick to celebrate everyone else's successes, and then he just brushes over his own. So huge congratulations and shout out to him, because to run 1:36 is bloody tough, and it is quick. So
I thought that when he went to, when I saw his time at Cambridge,
yeah,
I said to him, "God, mate, you smashed that, didn't you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay." And that was sub 140, and I was taken aback. I thought, hell, you know, he's given that some. He's had a great run. So I'm not that surprised that you said that he's subsequently done that, because the old boy's been in good shape, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it's just funny because I said to him, "You run around with a camera in your hand, talking the whole time. If you didn't talk and didn't have a camera in your hand, just imagine what could happen." But I don't think he would. I think he'd lose all concentration. He'd just be so bored that he'd give up, because he'd just be like, "Oh, this is rubbish."
And when he's at the Landmarks, he starts at the front anyway, so he should get a PB.
Well, yeah, actually, good point. Toby and Chris led the race for not just the 100 metres down the straight, but I don't know how far they went. I came around the corner. So anyone that's ever done Landmarks, you kind of go out straight, you turn around the corner. And I turned and I thought, everyone else that was on the front line with them is near me. So where the hell have these two gone? And they were like miles away, looking back going, "Where's all our mates?"
We had an amazing time. And then we slowed down because we couldn't really sustain that at all.
So Toby's talking about amazing times, Al. Didn't go Ibiza though, did he?
No. That was a completely different event altogether in terms of being in the sun.
Yeah.
So it was, on a serious point, we had people kind of struggling because they've trained all winter in like -10 and wind chill factors of 70 miles an hour, and suddenly you land in Ibiza and it's 70 degrees and you're kind of, where's the sunscreen?
Yeah.
So I think that threw a few people on the day, but it was a really good event. You know, hats off to Helen Tabor for putting the invite out to everyone to come and join in a celebration of her 50th. It started off with a little hijacking of the plane. We managed to sing happy birthday to her just as we came into land. So we kind of knew it was going to be a fun weekend. And to be fair, I think everyone had a great time. You know, and Wilco's hotel room was kind of like the business. He had a walk-in infinity pool at the bottom of his hotel.
Because I got there early.
Oh, is that what it is? You had an extra day.
I was the first one. Me and my mate Shane from work, who came along and had a whale of a time, was signed up to be a 40 runner by the end because he had such a wild and wacky time with us. He signed us up. And what was amazing was that also our hotel was so good that the expo was literally next door.
Right.
So I saw a load of the Hartford people who, there's a big posse from Hartford who went, and they went to the expo. So I walked over and met them, and they said, "How close is your hotel?" And I said, "I'm still on the Wi-Fi. It's that close."
Yeah.
It was just everything was on our doorstep. We had
Well, it
such
was a
a brilliant time.
22-kilometre race, so that was a little bit different. It was technically further than a half marathon, and you actually ran past our hotel at 21. So if you wasn't bothered about a time, a finish, and a medal, you could have just popped off the course at 21 kilometres, bagged your half marathon time, and been in the pool before anyone else had finished. But yeah, it was a really good weekend. It was amazing kind of how many shout outs we got for 40 runs in various Spanish accents. So the way the race was organised, there was 3 different starts. So there was a 12K start, a 22K start, and a marathon start. And it meant that during the course of the race, you slowly kind of all caught up. But it just meant there was wave after wave of 40 kind of shirts. And the locals really embraced it. So it's really good to take us on an international tour that weekend. So highly recommended. I think plans are already taking shape for next year and possibly other places as well. So keep your eye in the Facebook group for early spring.
And book your hotel early for the best room.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a couple of shout outs and questions if that's all right. Because there's
go on, jump in.
Through. So what have we got? I just saw one for Alan actually, which was so hold on firstly. Michael Hilsden, you're asking about Blue Wave 11. It's your first London next week. So firstly, good luck. On the Facebook community, if you go on there, Mel and Chris have actually started threads for each of the different colour starts. So red, blue, green and yellow, I think. And there's loads of people in there commenting around what wave they're in within those starts. So if you pop on there, you'll find loads of people probably in the same wave as you that you'll be able to find and meet up with. So have a look there and that should help. Question for Al. How often should I try and run a quick park run?
Good question. I don't think there's a correct answer for that. It depends what your goals and ambitions are. If you are training for a race, a marathon, a half marathon, I think park runs can really work well in terms of using it as a speed session. So if you are, actually only going to run the 5K that day and you need a speed tempo session, go for it. And you could do that weekly if that was part of your longer term marathon training. Realistically, should you be charging out for a PB every Saturday? Probably not, because you might hit that PB in the early days, then you'll hit a plateau, and actually the motivation could kind of drop off and you could end up falling out of love with parkrun just because you're getting frustrated with yourself, just because you're missing it by a few seconds. And that's not really what parkrun's about. So for me, it's about making parkrun as useful as you can make it within your broader kind of running program, rather than it being the be all and end all by 9:30 on a Saturday. It's either made or broken your weekend. That kind of really shouldn't be what it's all about.
Yeah, good point. Next one is Aubrey Running. So he said, so good to do on this, always watch the videos but never actually made the live stream, and he's going to make it a habit going forward. If that is Aubrey that I think it might be, who's been doing some stuff with Chris recently, so hello, and we're glad that you've made it tonight and that you're here. We are also truly international today. I've seen Ireland, Florida and Prescott, and I saw a bonjour as well, so I'm assuming we're in France and that's not just someone saying bonjour.
It might just be Derek Trotter.
So thank you everyone for listening from across the place.
Can you pick out Mike's one? It's just come in. He said he's just joined the show, never seen Toby wearing a hat, so he wants to know has he got a dodgy haircut.
Yeah.
So Toby, are you going to do a reveal for us?
No.
Haircut, Toby?
No, I wouldn't say it's a dodgy haircut, but I wouldn't say it's my finest hair day.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I have worn a hat before, though, so you have to watch a bit closer.
Yeah. Right. The other one was that I want to touch on was Hazel said, congrats, guys. So thank you very much. Just a quick question. Double runs in training, good or bad?
You want me to go with that one again?
Yeah, go on.
So, different thoughts. If you follow world athletics and the triathlon scene, the Norwegian approach to smashing out fast times is to do double tempo runs. And I think we've had Ben Felton on the show previously. He's a bit of an advocate for doing that. I think you have to be.
Al, before we go on, can you just sort of like explain to the uninitiated what you mean by
Yeah,
sort of
so,
like double run?
that might be 2 sessions, morning and afternoon. If you say compare it with Kipchoge, he'll be out doing most of his runs slow, albeit his slow is still much faster than our slow. But he will be focusing on slow, and then he'll pop in a tempo run or something fast, a fast 5K. But most of his training will be slow. The Norwegians do it slightly differently. They've got a lot of science behind it as well, if you kind of get into that kind of thing. But they will schedule 2 fast sessions back to back, a morning and afternoon. So they will go out, they will push a fast tempo, 45 minutes of, blasting it and holding that pace. They will recover, fuel, and then they'll go again. And I guess the theory in its simplest, it's about building that speed endurance, and you have to stress yourself nearly to the point of failure to then recover and build. So if it was a graph, you'd see that improvement, that slight dip, and then you'd see the improvement again before you kind of get to the end of your program. So it can work. I've done the occasional double run. I think double runs are better for us everyday runners when you're trying to fit in long miles. So there's nothing wrong with looking at your 10 miler or your 16 miler and going, I've got to get the kids to school, then I've got to get back and do some shopping, then I've got to do something else. How am I going to fit 16 miles in? Well, don't stress about it. Break it up. Do 2 separate runs. They don't have to be equal. They don't have to be necessarily even at fast pace. It's just get the miles in. So double running can help when you are stretched for time, when you are pushed for being able to find that space in a busy life.
Yeah.
So
plays havoc with your wash bin though, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And as a confirmed sweaty Betty, it puts pressure on your washing machine, and it can put pressure on your relationships as well. Just as the washing machine gets emptied, you fill it up with another pair of sweaty socks and another pair of, and particularly because I like to go out layered as well. I kind of, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it.
So swings and roundabouts, really.
There's not so much in the roundabouts, but yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alan. So, Lloyd, yes, you can have a shout out. The staff's crew, the Staffordshire satellite crew, are going to Cannock Chase Park tomorrow, which I think is in the Midlands somewhere. And Chris is heading down there as well. So if you are in that area or anywhere close, I don't really know where it is, but around Staffordshire, head down there for Park Run tomorrow morning, because that looks like it'd be a good turnout and good fun. And then I think, this one, Wilco, I reckon this one's, well, between you and Toby, you'll be able to answer this. Any tips for Manchester Marathon without any training? So, Wilco, I know you do your training, so let's start with Toby.
He's the expert.
I mean,
I don't know what you're on about. Obviously, Manchester I haven't done. So, is it flat-ish?
It is.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
it's really
but they all
flat.
say that. If you only entered marathons that said, it would be flat, 95% of the time, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you? They all say flat.
It's only currently 54 metres of elevation. Really? London's about 100 as comparison. Yeah. So, and I think it
London
is
hilly,
flat.
as we know. Well-known point. I think, obviously you've got to be careful if you're going for a marathon without any training. Obviously, it depends on what your base is as well. So I'm assuming that you have got a base there. But I would just run, if you're going without much training, I'd run to Phil. That's what I did in Amsterdam. I mean, I had the boys for the first sort of half. When actually they kept me going there. But I always find the first 10K of a marathon almost the hardest. Sounds a bit weird. But just sort of bedding in, I always find that quite hard. I just don't feel it. And then I seem to get into it. But sort of ran to Phil the whole way really on that. So that's what I would say. Just don't push yourself. If you want to slow is, you just want to get to the finish line.
Enjoy the day. I mean, it's been, I'm doing Manchester this weekend. I've had a bit of a stressful week. I like many people, I'm sure, not getting much sleep, thinking about stuff, all the prep and things like that. And one thing that I've done this week that has given me a lift is that I've got my playlist, and I just filled it up with loads of Manchester-based sort of music, like so Oasis, Stone Roses, Joy Division, New Order, Smiths, stuff like that. All the stuff that I
younger
like.
listeners have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm like, you're showing your age there. Because
Classic never goes out of fashion. But what I would say is, we always say don't do anything new on race day, but you've still got time now, and definitely if you've got London, you've got time. Do yourself a playlist. Get yourself all your favourite songs, whatever sort of stuff you want to do, things that remind you of great times that you've had, remind you of perhaps of people who aren't around anymore, things like that. Make yourself a big list and play it on the day, and that will help through it. Even if you just put it on, in that last hour when you're feeling a bit rough and things like that. It's a great thing to have in your back pocket for an emergency. I run in headphones all the time, and I play this playlist all the time. So I think you should have a look, get yourself a playlist. But this is all prep, and we've talked about marathon prep for weeks. Tonight we're going to talk about what happens next after you've crossed that line.
yeah.
So tonight's topic is marathon recovery. So Sabrina, can you set us up?
Yeah. So I think recovery is an interesting one for us to be talking about, because I think there's two big parts of it. One is obviously the physical recovery because of the exertion that your body's just been through, right? You've run 26 miles, you've done probably likely 16 weeks roughly of training. And therefore, what you suddenly, like, your body suddenly stops, right? And people get sick and all sorts, and we hear about it all the time. But I also think mentally is probably, for me, the tougher part of it, which is you filled all your time. And then when you taper in, you filled your time with nerves and worry and anxiety around what do I do? What do I do about this and that? And suddenly you've got this gap. And there's also the bit of, it might go to plan. We always hope and we train for it to, but also it might not, right? And you do have to almost go, what happens if it does and it all goes swimmingly? What do I do and how do I recover? Versus if it doesn't, what do I then do? So Al, should we start with you? Because this is like, Al's the king of like the scientific stuff. So I feel like
I'm actually going to start on the mental side of things. You kind of took us there, and we can come into the physical. You're absolutely right. Post-marathon blues is a thing. Certainly, if you're in enough kind of marathon groups, you'll see that conversation going on, and it's understandable. As you said, Sabrina, you've kind of had this goal set up for at least 16 weeks, but it could be years. You could have been chasing that London place in ballots for years and never got it, and then suddenly find yourself, having achieved what you consider to be your ultimate running goal, and then there is that, kind of what next. So that is something to be mindful of, and it's something not to be ashamed of, because I've suffered it, and it's hard. The way I've got through it is stupidly go and book more races. I get a buzz from race day, so I know that the prep, the planning, all the effort going into the training culminates in a few hours, starting even before the race.
Sorry, Al, can I just ask as well? Because I think, we've all done marathons, but I think you're definitely the most experienced out of us in terms of the number of marathons.
Double figures, just crept into 10.
Have you?
Yeah, 10 now. Yeah. Well, I tell a lie. I've completed 9, and I've had 1 did not finish. So that was my other point in terms of dealing with the pressure that you put upon yourself on race day.
Yeah.
And as you said, if you're running a number of marathons, you're probably going to have as many bad ones as you are good ones. And if you're running one and done, you're adding even more pressure that you want it to be the best you can possibly be. And that creates a huge amount of pressure. And again, I think if we scroll back over a number of episodes, we've probably, talked to death about just trying to enjoy it, trying to take away some of that anxiety. We've talked about headphones and listening to the music, but actually just enjoying the atmosphere as well can make for, just relieving and taking away some of that anxiety. So the mental pressure can be something that then when you get through that, leaves another void. So it can come for a number of different kind of places, that post-marathon blues, and it's something. All I'd say is be mindful of and have a strategy in terms of how do you think you're going to cope. If this has been your big moment and it's either gone well and you're full of it, or you're kind of looking, going, what do I do? How do I recover? Because that's hard. That's hard as well. It's probably taken me 6 months to get over Amsterdam. I'm not rushing back this year, but I've got unfinished business, and I know I will be back at some point to complete that race.
Is that part of your recovery for that? Is to go back and do it again? Because there's a mental thing there that you're like, it didn't. Because like for me, for example, so, and we'll touch on in a second, like the immediates of right after the race, any tips we've got, etc. But London didn't go to plan, and then because I was definitely around one and done, I'm never doing another marathon. And then when it didn't quite go to plan, I went, oh, I should go and do another one to get over it. But for me, it didn't have to be London. It just had to be. I just needed to go out and run and feel good about it.
I think for me, Amsterdam, I saw so many people enjoy that run and enjoy that weekend, because again, there was quite a big FORDY contingent. I came away, first of all, without my medal, which was a little bit disappointing, but I didn't have the same shared experiences. And I think that's probably the biggest motivation for me wanting to go back. Yeah, I want to complete the 26. I want to get a medal, but I want to come away from that race with the same kind of buzz that everyone else got that day. It didn't help that when we got to Schiphol Airport, every food outlet was closed. So I'm sitting there miserable because I haven't finished, and I'm sitting there miserable because I couldn't get anything to eat. So another piece of advice, take your own packed lunch for after the race, just in case your catering options are limited. But that's unofficial.
There must be some sort of correlation between the amount that you invest into your marathon and like your mental recovery. That if you go, it would seem to me that if you go with the objective to enjoy it as much as possible, then you'll reflect on it perhaps differently than if you've set yourself an immediate target and you want to be, because people, we've already talked about Manchester being a flat course. There will be people there who will see this as a great opportunity to get a ticket to some of the biggest races in the world that they'd never be able to do. They'll be able to get good for age. They'll be able to get a Boston qualifying time, things like that. And this is a big chance for them. Now, the come down for that, if it doesn't happen, must be worse than if you've just gone and give it a go.
Here's a suggestion, a bit controversial. We've got 2 weekends where we've got 2 massive marathons for the FORDY community. And I've listened to other podcasts, because other podcasts do exist. And one of the comments about doing endurance races and taking on big challenges is that as soon as you get over the finish line, probably the first question someone will ask you is, what time did you do? And that's immediately setting you up for either having a great race or being disappointed. And you'll manage that in your own head. So perhaps we should set an example the next 2 weekends of starting those conversations by going, did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Let the conversation happen. And then if it's appropriate, have that conversation about, and did you manage to pull it into
I think it's almost sort of like when we do comparisons in anything in life, whether it's exam results and things like that, it's sort of like, did you get out of that what you wanted to get out of it? That's the key. That's the key answer to me, and whether people regard that as times and things like that. Do you get what you wanted out of the experience, and did you have as good a day as you possibly could have done?
Yeah, I love that though, Al, actually, around framing it when we see someone over the finish line or afterward, instead of how did you do, which is basically saying what time did you get, how about we go, how you feeling? You all right? Just, and a genuine level of care to go, how you feeling? Because that sometimes people just want to go, yeah, I'm good, right? Or yeah, I just need to.
Well, you'll see all the scenarios, won't you? You'll see people looking elated, but may feel slightly disappointed. And you'll see people that absolutely look out of it and dead, but are just having the best time ever. And so I don't think you can assume just from looking at physical appearances and seeing how people react when they stop their Garmin. And we've all done it. Cross the line. The first thing you do is you whack your button, and then you kind of look for the medal. So yeah, I think having that different mindset can actually just set a whole different precedent for our community. So let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Let's see if people come away from the next 2 weekends going, yeah, that's made a huge difference, because actually I'll look at the time, and in an hour's time, when you've got the coffee, when you've got your bagel, when you've got your donut, you can pour over your Strava stats for forever more. But actually in that moment, just enjoy it and, relish, because it's hard work. It's hard work getting in the ballot, and it's hard work getting through the training plan. It's bloody hard work on the day.
Yeah.
So,
but Al, you just touched on something interesting then, which is right. So you finish, you get over the line, you get your medal, you get your bag. Now, what do you do to start that recovery, right? Because that's when it starts from that moment. If we're honest, there's a long road.
Yeah. So for me, hydration's probably the first thing in my mind. There will be a range of goodies available if it's like previous years. If you're running London, and most of the big marathons have a goodie bag with a can of water or a banana or oat bar or something. So getting hydrated for me is quite key. Again, so I know I will kind of just guzzle down that Red Ambulance if it's available, or I'll try and sneak a second can of water from a friendly marshal if I can.
And by Red Ambulance, Chris talks about this in a lot of the videos and what to pack is basically full fat Coke. And our recommendation, we always say this, is chuck a bottle of that in your bag for when you pick it up, because it brings you back to life. I don't know what it is. It's a sugar.
The second thing for me is getting some warm clothing on. So again, regardless really of kind of what the temperature is on the day, and we might have an 85-degree absolute stormer, but chances are you've come over that finish line. Your body's been working really hard, your heart's been pumping, your core temperature is through the roof, and then you stop. And again, it doesn't really matter kind of what the ambient temperature is outside, your core body temperature will start to drop and drop and drop. So actually getting out of your running clothes, even if you're not a sweater, and getting your hoodie on, or getting some long trousers on, or just getting dressed in something that will make you feel a little bit more human, is probably the second thing for me to do. And then you've hydrated, you're feeling warm, then you can start thinking about, right, where's my friends, where's my family, where's the food, where's the coffee, where's the celebrations on race day.
Yeah. And so how long, guys, do you tend to wait after a marathon? Because there's theories that, look, you need to walk, which I think after most major marathons, you've got to walk somewhere, right? Because you've got to get to transport, you've got to get, whether it's your car, a cab, a train, whatever, right? So you do a little bit of walking. I think they say like 10 minutes of walking afterwards can actually be 10-15 minutes is really good for you. But I think one of the questions that comes up a lot is, right, so mentally, okay, there's that side of things. Physically, there is, right, I've got over the line, I've had something to eat, etc. But when do you think about going for a run again? Because to that point that suddenly you've gone from a training plan or a block, whether you've been following it loosely or to the every I and every T, how long do you wait before going, I'm going to put a pair of trainers on again, I'm going to go out?
Well, I mean, I'm generally conditioned into sort of, if I have a long run during my training plan, I'll always go out the next day and do sort of 3 or 4 miles, like recovery, and do something really slow. But this is obviously a bit different. I would, I might pop around my dad's and take the dog for a walk or something like that, just to have a bit of a stretch and do something different. Because I think you do have to. A good thing to help you mentally recover from your marathon is to do some of the things that you've neglected over the previous 16 weeks, whether that's spending time with your family, doing a bit more with your kids, going out with your mates a bit more, anything, riding a bike, visiting people, interacting with people that you may not have seen so much of over the previous sort of 3 or 4 months. I think that's really key. And as for going out and running, I mean, I know Hayden, we've forgotten to give Hayden and Jatila a shout because
we're going to do that.
Because they're going to Boston. They're doing the Boston Marathon this week. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. But Hayden won't run for a week. I know other people won't do anything for a fortnight. I don't think I can do that really. But having said that, when I did Edinburgh, I went out about 5 or 6 days later, tried to speed down the towpath when I was about to be attacked by a rather fearsome looking swan, and my calf popped, and I had to sort of limp 1.5 miles home via the pub. Feeling very sorry for myself. So maybe I learned the lesson the hard way.
Yeah. What about you? What's the?
I don't think there's really a right and wrong answer. It's for me. I do it down to feel. So it's like after Edinburgh, I actually couldn't run for at least a week, probably 2. my legs just would not allow me. I think I tried about 5 days afterwards, and that was an interesting run. I think Brock's one will be able to tell you that one. But so for me, it depends, because I know, as you sort of touched upon, you do the long runs in training, but race day is normally quite a different thing, because you're normally going for that time that you've been aiming for, or putting in that extra effort. I would normally leave sort of a week, sort of the first week. I wouldn't. I mean, I might do a gentle run that week if I feel okay, but normally I'd give a week before I'd actually then go out again, and then just sort of run. Unless I got anything else I'm training for, just run for fun. You say you've been in that block, haven't you?
One thing I just want to touch upon there is that psychologically leaving it a week would be difficult for me, because I'd be fearful of just laying on the sofa and eating crisps, and just letting myself go a little bit. Like you see with the boxers, don't you? They're massive with this. Like they'll get so ripped, and then people like Tyson Fury, they put on 2 or 3 stones sometimes in between their fights, and then it's all sort of like massive intensity to get back down again. And I'm always sort of like, I've done all this. Sometimes I'm a little bit conscious. I've done all this hard work, and now, I deserve a rest, but I'm turning into a bit of a slob, and I'm eating too much, and I'm drinking too much, and that I get very conscious that I don't want to fall into that trap.
Yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? Because there's definitely balance, and everybody's different, right? So we've got people in there saying I'll go out on my bike the next day. We've got people saying I don't run for a week. People saying I'll run the next day. It's completely.
What about you? What's your experience been?
I think after London, I didn't run for a week. I can't remember what happened after Edinburgh, if I'm perfectly honest. I probably left it about a week as well, I think. But I think part of my recovery is, I remember, I think both marathons, I wasn't very hungry straight away. So I was going to ask everyone else about this as well, because I think you just assume you're going to finish, you're going to be starving because you've been out for however long it is, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is, right? And then you're just going to want to eat a big meal. And I remember feeling really disappointed that I didn't want to eat, because I was like, hold on, this is meant to be like the greatest meal I've ever had. I think after Edinburgh, we ended up in Burger King, and I was like, in my head, I thought I was going to order the whole menu.
Were you thinking about that during the race? Because I do that all the time. 6 miles out, I'm thinking, I'm going to go at Five Guys. I'm going to have one of them massive milkshakes.
I can't even remember it during the race, but I remember afterwards, we got back to the hotel to get showered. And actually, Toby, you went and got us coffee. Was it you or Charlie?
There's definitely coffee involved. I remember moaning about wanting coffee.
After Charlie picked you up on the floor, she probably bought you a coffee as well, bless her. And then I remember being really disappointed. But part for me is those few days afterwards, what you eat is really important as well, because you fueled your body. A lot of us will have been going, right, I need to eat all the good stuff, right? I need to get enough protein, fruit, veg, carbs, etc. Toby, who just eats McDonald's probably in the lead up. But yeah, we do. And then suddenly afterwards, you're like, all right, I could just eat whatever I want, which part of it is you can, but part of it is also you still do need to, your muscles are really worn down, aren't they? I mean, I'm not talking scientific terms. Alan can give us the actual technical stuff, but your body needs fuel, and it needs all the good stuff back in it to help you recover. Is that fair?
Absolutely. So any long run, so we're not just talking about marathons here, but any long run, you are putting your body under stress, and you're in effect micro tearing all your muscles for however long you're kind of running. So the recovery has to be a balance of thinking about that physical element and tacking on the mental element. Wilco's already mentioned that a week without running can feel quite stressful to some people. And I've tried different strategies. So I've tried taking a rest and got really anxious because you think you're never going to be able to run again. I've tried. So after Copenhagen, I wish I had a video. I went out for my recovery run. it just didn't. Oh, I think it would have looked the funniest, if someone had been able to film me thinking I'm doing a recovery run, because it wouldn't have passed any kind of quality control in terms of recovery runs. So I think I've kind of steered away from that. Everyone will be different in terms of how DOMS kicks in, so the delayed onset muscle soreness that you're going to get. You may not feel it on the Monday, but by the Wednesday, it could be really cranking in. And I guess I think that's where the kind of the food comes in terms of having a good balance, getting enough protein in, because it's protein that's going to do the repair for the muscles. Keep hydrating, because though we talked about the red ambulance and other things, it's actually all the salts and all the electrolytes that are going to be out of balance. I'm not saying you're going to be in a state, but they will just be out of balance, and it's best to take a few days to slowly build up that balance, rather than go for it in the first 24 hours and then find that you're feeling really ick and sick. Plus, you're probably going to have a post-marathon cold, again, because you've been pushing your body for so long. Your autoimmune system will be really kind of squeaking, and then post-marathon, I've probably had a cold 5 out of 6 runs. So again, that's your body telling you that you need to take care of yourself. So you put all that together, and you probably should be going, Hayden's strategy of not running for a week probably isn't a bad one, but it's not to say that it's going to be right for everyone.
So you'd certainly be you'd err on the side of caution, rather than you'd definitely do less than sort of like jump straight back into it.
Yeah, but obviously, I've seen some of the comments coming up, and I've been in that situation myself, where you're going, I've got another race in 3 weeks, or I've got another marathon in 2 weeks. What do I do? And again, there isn't a straightforward answer. I think we've talked about this in the past, in terms of if I've got a very hectic calendar, not every race can be your A race. So you kind of have to pick and choose your moments to try and peak. And that's that's not a science. Whilst lots of the apps kind of talk about peaking and maintaining and being productive, I don't think any of us really understand the algorithms.
No, I don't think so.
It's a bit of witchcraft in terms of how do you recover and how do you peak if you have got a busy schedule. And it is about, I think Toby's nailed it in terms of listen to your body and do it to feel. If it feels okay, it probably is okay. If it feels a bit crap, sorry, pardon my language, you're probably not doing yourself any favours.
Yeah. There's a comment came through actually from Elaine Bunting saying her son has got Manchester, which is this weekend, and then Edinburgh Full Marathon, which is probably end of May. Yeah. When should his training restart again for Edinburgh? And I just wanted to touch on that, because I think your recovery from that is different, right? Doing 2 marathons, and I think it's hard to answer it from a coach perspective, because there's a lot of information that you'd ask. But it's almost like, which one's your A race? Is it Manchester or is it Edinburgh? I think Hayden's theory of, I think he did obviously Tokyo back in March, which he just used as a long run, and then kind of gave himself a bit of time to rest, and then obviously he's going out to Boston, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think it all depends on which is your A race, which isn't, what you're doing. Are you going to enjoy them both? Are you going for a time at one of them? But listen to your body in between. And I think you've got 6 weeks. So if you need to rest for a few days, which you will, do it. Don't feel like you've got to get back out and start doing speed sessions on Tuesday after doing Manchester on Sunday. I think you might.
So to add to that, and this comes up more in the context of people coming back after injury, or having a mid injury or a cold kind of halfway through the plan. You won't lose a lot of fitness even if you don't run for a fortnight. It's only when you start to get to 10, 12, 14 days without any cardio that you're going to see a loss of any real physique. Yeah, you might lose 1 or 2%, but for most of us average runners, you wouldn't notice the difference. I'm sure if you're elite, 1 or 2% is the difference between a world record and a podium finish and being midfield. But for the rest of us, good recovery will actually, be the best solution in the long run. And without knowing the full details, Elaine, 10 easy days, and then reassessing your training plan and having a look at what you might be able to tweak based on your experience of running that first race is probably the way to go.
Yeah. Also, Rob Sayer, this is one of my favourite comments after someone else hammering Toby earlier, Toby's probably got an emergency cheeseburger under his cap. Toby, what have you got under there? Do
I
you
can't reveal
feel like this is like going to be a game now? What's Toby?
where I keep the
What
award.
is under Toby's hat? Yeah.
All right, if we had to do quick fire, your one recovery tip, what are you going to go with? Go on, Wilco.
Oh, just don't go mad and just enjoy from a mental perspective, enjoy what you've achieved, whatever you've done in a marathon, even if it didn't go particularly well and you got to the closing stages and you couldn't finish. When you started running, when you thought, I might give this running a go, you would never have dreamed that you could do what you've done. I can't, 5 years ago, I was running, if I did a mile, that would have been brilliant. And now on Sunday, I'm doing my 4th marathon in 18 months. And I look back and I think, it's just amazing. It's amazing. You're amazing of everything that you're doing. So don't lose heart. Don't get too hung up about things that went wrong. Just celebrate your achievement. That's what I would say.
Nice. Toby?
I'd say keep moving. And say it might not be going for that run, and probably best not to go for that run for Nayfield, but do keep moving when it's walking the dog, just going for a walk, something like that. Because, the more you sit down, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah. Al?
Crocs and fresh socks. There you go.
Oh, good one.
I'm packing my sliders. Is this a good idea?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's the best idea you can have. Sliders.
We want to see a picture of your sliders and fresh socks after the race.
Don't do what happened to me in Edinburgh, where your phone runs out and you are left in the wrong side of Edinburgh and you've got no money and no reception on your phone, so you can't find out where you're supposed to be meeting people, and you're just walking around aimlessly for about an hour after you've run 26 miles to try and find Hayden in a pub. Don't do that. That is not the way to recover from your post thing. Fortunately, I hijacked a Deliveroo man and he was able to point me in the right direction eventually. But yes, so pack a little charger that you put your phone in, so you've got a bit of juice when you're finished.
All right. Well, look, we've got to 52 minutes, which is mad, isn't it?
Cool.
But this weekend is a big one and a busy one. So we kind of mentioned it a second ago, but obviously Boston, let's talk about that first, is Monday, which is a bank holiday over in the States. And now Hayden and Titilla are both heading over. I think Hayden went out today. And Benny's running was on the same flight, I think. So shout out to him as well. And I think Titilla flies tomorrow morning. So yeah, big weekend for those guys over there. And
I got to get my T-shirt.
your T-shirt.
Yeah, mine. Chris ain't getting one now. But
I've not been around for the last few weeks, but I've listened intently to these discussions about now. This is like having a Champions League winner when you didn't play. I would never countenance have any souvenirs or finishers T-shirts, bobble hats from Chicago, none of that if I hadn't done it myself.
Well done.
I would suggest, Toe, if you want to get a Boston T-shirt, get down, do a bit of training, run a sub-3, qualify, and get one.
Well, you never know. But I just wanted to wind Chris up. I don't really want it for any other reason.
Hold on, we have to clarify that though, because what happens if someone gets a finisher T-shirt, fair and square, because they've run a marathon, and then it doesn't fit them, so they give it as a gift? Is that acceptable?
I wouldn't accept a gift as something like that.
Oh, controversial. Right, we'll move on from that.
Just before we go, how old's Toby? Who knows his age? I've just got the Boston qualifying time.
34.
Oh, it's basically 2:59 something or other to get your BQ time.
I'm waiting for
what, if you knuckled down, you could do that.
No, I'll just wait till I get older.
Well,
Aiden,
when you're 35,
in your 70 to 80s category, and you'll be all
What's
right.
over 50s, Al?
Over 50, it's still quite tough.
Alec, go down the list. Go from 30.
Right, okay. So 18 to 34.
This is for men, obviously, sorry.
It's 3 hours. For women, it's 3 hours 30.
Right.
And on a serious point, this is the first Boston race where there is a non-binary category. And I think there's kind of 7 people running it as non-binary this year. So these times kind of don't reflect. 35 to 39, men 3:05, women 3 hours 35. So there's a 5-minute jump. Another 5. I'm 55 to 59. I've still got to go 3 hours 35.
So what have I got to do as plus 50 then? 50.
Yours 3 hours 25. So
I can do that on a
I've
bike.
got 10 minutes on you, Wilco. 70, 4 hours 20 for men, 4 hours 50 for women. Over 80, 4 hours 50 for men, 5 hours 20 for women.
So, I've done that.
Yeah, age is on our side is probably the strategy that we need to be going for.
I
So
think
if I
if you're
get to
over
80 and I
80,
can still run a marathon, can I still chip in with my time that I got in Edinburgh?
I don't think you'd be too
48?
worried about the t-shirt. You'll just be grateful to be alive, wouldn't you? You can still
I think if
swim
you're over
right
80, you should just, and you want to do it, you should just be allowed.
Yeah,
I don't
should
think
be
it should be a
qualifying
qualifying
time, should there?
Yeah, I think, I'd go along with that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right, well, we'll write to the Boston Athletic Association and make that suggestion. We'll do a quick poll in FORDY, see if we get a volume of support, and then there you go. Look out
I think,
for
if you're 80 plus, you should get a chance to run a marathon if you think you're capable of doing it, regardless of what time.
Can I just say, Toby, that's probably the most value you've added. Actually,
Well,
that's actually a good suggestion.
No,
He's
I
changing
think
the
the one the
world.
other week was better.
No, absolutely not.
You still need times on the boards as you run round.
We're not going there again. Anyway, right, this weekend, come on, Wilco, what's the plan? Heading to Manchester.
I'm not worried about time at all, really. I'm just going to go and enjoy myself. The author Stephen King says, when people ask him how he writes his books, he says, one word at a time. And that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get out there, see how I feel, go and have a good time, run around a different course. Having said that, training's gone better than it did when I went to Dublin, which was my last marathon, because I got COVID when we went to the Great North Run, and that knocked me back by about 10 days. And consequently, my mental attitude was a little bit more sort of like, well, I'm going to participate rather than worry about, putting in a good performance. So I'm hopeful of doing better than I did there, but I'm just looking forward to seeing lots of people. It's going to be a massive, apart from the Great North Run, this is going to be the biggest race I've actually run in, because there's about 25,000 people going. I didn't quite comprehend how big it was.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fair old queue for the toilets. So that's going to be the first problem. But I'm going to go and enjoy myself. My PB is 4:46. If I beat that, I'd be very happy.
All right. Good. All right. Well, keep us updated. We'll be watching. Al, have you got plans this weekend?
Yeah, well, it's Saturday, so it's parkrun, obviously. We're heading down to Colchester Castle, so we get another C in the. That's not the Pirates Challenge, is it? Yeah, it is the Pirates Challenge. But more importantly, after parkrun, we are staying in Colchester to do a bit of Strava art. So there is a little route around the castle that allows you to draw an elephant. So it's about just under 4 miles, I think 6K. So I think there'll be about a dozen FORDY'S kind of, sticking around, and then we're arguing about whether we go left or right because we need to get the elephant's tail. So you'll all be able to Strava stalk us on Saturday evening to see who got it right and who got the best, and whether we actually made it round. So yeah, it's parkrun with a bit of fun added on. So looking forward to that.
Brilliant. Toby, you actually planning to run?
I'm actually looking forward to this weekend.
Go on, why are you looking forward to it?
Well, because I get to go for a run with my mates. Well, one of them isn't there, to be fair. I'll let you guess which one. But it means that actually might go out and run the pace, the nice, easy pace that we've actually planned, and not go along looking at our watch the whole time going, you're going too fast. What are you doing out front, Chris? You're going too fast. Slow down. So I'm quite looking forward to it. And then I've heard that there is another C involved on the run as well, which is basically the calf. So I've been tempted to go to a run so I can go to the calf.
All right. Wilco, over to you.
Well, right. Okay, we're going to wind up. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Toby, pressing all the right buttons, doing the good job on the old production, keeps it a nice, smooth operation.
I haven't finished yet.
Thank you very much for everybody who contributed to the chat, and thanks for your time. Thank you very much to Skechers for their continued support. Pop along to skechers.co.uk and have a look at all their great deals that they've got. And thanks for your questions and entertainment.
Yeah.
We are on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 7 p.m. But if you can't catch us then, don't worry. You can download us on your favourite podcast provider of choice shortly after the show, which will be Apple, Amazon, Spotify. If you give us a review, that'd be lovely as well, because we've got to tell people that now we're an award-winning podcast. People will have expectations, so they will want to know what all the fuss is about. So please spread the word. Don't forget, if you've got a question or anything, drop us a line at 40runs.com long run. That includes your shout outs for people who are running the London Marathon next Sunday. If you can fill them up all week, that would be great. Brilliant. Would say the thing. So I look forward to seeing everybody who's doing the Manchester Marathon, and those I don't see who are doing the Manchester Marathon. I wish you all the very, very best of luck. I'm sure we're going to have a great day. Hopefully it's not going to rain. And whatever you're doing this weekend, enjoy your running, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.